What I love about jazz, I never set out to be a jazz singer. And I always am kind of like, it's interesting that people call me a jazz vocalist, and I understand that I'm very influenced by so much of the music, the improvisation, the sort of stretch. You know, sometimes when there's no neat box somebody can tick for a genre, they say, oh, it's jazzy, you know, it's jazz. So I think sometimes it's partly that, but I'm also very inspired by so many voices who have come from that idiom, Sarah Vaughan, you know, Nina Simone, even Mary Makeba. I would say what I love about jazz is there's a certain freedom that accompanies the music and the performance of that music. You know, jazz demands improvisation by everybody, myself, the instrumentalist on stage. So there's always a certain kind of individuality that's always being a story that's being told from the hearts of whoever is performing that music. At least that's how I see it. And because as a child of immigrants who was born in the States, half Ugandan, half Rwandese, lives between Zambia and then Nigeria and Tanzania and even now partly South Africa, and New York, obviously, there's always this improvisation that has to happen socially, culturally, you know. And so I always feel like jazz is this wonderful metaphor for my life.
On the 23rd of January 2018, just lost one of the most celebrated artists, Hugh Masekela, who Somi widely held as an inspirer and also a guardian angel for her music.
Well, I was fortunate to know Uncle Hugh very well. I met him 12 years ago. He was my dearest mentor, such a generous spirit, human being, such a humble person, and a genius, you know. So we have lost an icon. We have lost somebody who set a standard so high for so many decades, you know, and what a remarkable legacy. I was fortunate to be in South Africa through the memorials, the funeral, and to really have time to reflect deeply on his legacy. And in that reflection, it's given me certain answers about the work that I know needs to be done, the work that was important to him. Yeah, he was very committed to supporting young people and raising the next generation. And I think that in itself is an example all of us can follow as artists, specifically as African artists. He was a global citizen, and that's something he once lectured me on, about remembering that the musicians are implicitly global citizens. We cannot take our global citizenship for granted, and we should use it to our advantage, in fact, and show up where we need to and know that our audience is waiting for us. And I think that's what's beautiful about this moment right now on the continent. There's so much cultural, you know, production happening. We're starting to take our arts more seriously, our voices more seriously, and I think there's finally room for more diversified type of modern expression, called artistic expression. And so when I am able to show up at home in Rwanda as a jazz vocalist who lives in New York and travels throughout most, you know, other parts of the world and has very rare opportunities to come home with my whole band, it's a very special thing, and it lets me know that there's room for my voice. So I'm thankful for him for making room for my voice and giving me the courage to do it.
They come round often.
In 2013, Somi signed with Sony Music, making her the very first artist from East Africa to sign with a major label. We asked her about the influence that it has on her music, and this is her response.
You know, those conversations come up, but at the end of the day, if you're not honest with yourself, your audience feels that, you know, and I think I would like to believe that I'm beyond that point in my career as an artist, in that I'm just making the work I know I want to make, and telling the stories I know I want to tell. But when I signed with Sony, I had been living in Nigeria for 18 months. I recorded a record called The Lagos Music Salon entirely independently, you know, and it had featured people like Common and Angelique Kidjo, and all these people were generous. Again, there's this feeling of generosity that always sort of shows up to help you along the way. And you know, so Sony got involved after the music was already recorded. So that what was wonderful about that particular moment was that I knew that I was 100% myself. I wasn't walking into doors and people were saying, okay, change this, do that. I was showing up with the music done, you know, and then they wanted to be involved. And so I think that's a very fortunate position to be in. I know that people, I think when we're much younger, I mean, I can think about so many times when I was younger in my journey and just starting out and didn't know and wanted to please the industry and wanted to please people. And, you know, but at some point you have to let go of that and just be yourself, because that's the truth, and the truth is all that matters.
I would try to tell you everything, the times that I lied, everything, the days that I cried, everything, the lovers I knew, everything, my hungry nights too, everything, grandmother's grave, everything, the last time I prayed, everything, the first song before, everything.
At the 49th National Association for Advanced of Colored People NAACP Image Awards in the non-televised categories, Somi's album Petite Afrique, that translates as Little Africa, won the award in the category of Outstanding Jazz Album of the Year. We asked her what this means for her brand moving forward.
So we're still seeing what the impact of that might be. But I will say that, you know, more than anything, NAACP being the longest standing and oldest civil rights organization in the United States, working on behalf of people of color, black people in particular, it's a great honor to be a part of that legacy, to be a part of that conversation, to have my work as an artist recognized as one that's also lending itself to social justice, to civil rights, to giving voice to people who otherwise feel marginalized. So to have that experience in a room of so many people whom I admire, and their work that I've admired for many years, was a very humbling experience. It meant a great deal to me. It made me really reflect on, you know, and especially to be about an album that is inspired by the dignity of African immigrants in the United States in these times, with, you know, the person who's in the White House, whose name I won't say. But so to me, it was especially meaningful to represent the African immigrant experience in these times, in these political times, and to be able to reflect on all that my own parents, my family have sacrificed so that I might be living my dreams out loud, you know. And so I think, and also in addition to that, it was on Martin Luther King's birthday weekend, so it was like to have the confluence of all of that history in the room was incredibly meaningful, you know. And I think, just to answer the question about how does it impact my career and what has it done, you know, I think when any sort of major award or national or international award, it gives you more visibility, which is obviously super helpful as an artist, and it gives you more commercial appeal perhaps. But more than anything, the sentiment of the acknowledgement and the history again of NAACP, just being affiliated with that legacy, is something that outlasts any commercial gain, as far as I'm concerned, you know.